I'm really pleased to introduce our first speaker, who is Andreia Nobre. She is a journalist, author, and member of Parto Raiz, which is also Root Birth, a group of Brazilian doulas fighting against inclusive language on maternity matters. She's going to be talking on women's rights to bodily autonomy and Parto Raiz's campaign against the erasure of women through inclusive language. Also, her Twitter thread on issues affecting female bodies and her new book, The Grumpy Guide to Radical Feminism.
So I am a Brazilian journalist, and I'm writing currently for Brazilian Red Fem collective, QG Feminista, for Women Pub, which is belongs to the founder of Spinters, Mary Kay Fem. I'm also a affiliate volunteer for Latin America and a member of Parto Raiz, which is Root Birth. It's a group of Brazilian Red Fem doulas campaigning for respectful humanist births and against inclusive language on maternity matters. Now, for those of you who don't know what a doula is not a midwife. So the midwife assists the mother, the birthing woman, during childbirth on all physiological processes. The doula assists the mother during childbirth on an emotional level. Okay, so today I'm here to talk about the importance of bodies in the women's rights movement. Bodies are important. They are important in a medical context, for instance, because, for instance, medicine dosages have to be different for males and females. But also because of women's reproductive system, okay? Did you all know that women of reproductive age, when they come to a hospital setting unconscious, maybe by a heart attack, by an accident, the first thing that happens to those women is that they are tested for pregnancy. Okay, so that's how important women's bodies are in a medical context, for instance. As a doula, women's reproductive ability matters a lot because I'm a birth assistant. So even if a female born person identify as a man, if she's in labor, if this person is in labor, I can be of assistance. But we are seeing a worrying trend right now of inclusivity, and then I have to say inclusivity, that is not actually inclusive of women at all. Words matters, and so do bodies, okay? Inclusive language to appease gender dysphoria of a minority is excluding the majority of women who don't have a gender identity. Did you all also know that half of women don't even know what a cervix is or what it is for? So a campaign for cervix havers instead of women will miss a lot of women and will put the lives of those women at risk of getting a disease, a condition that could have been detected earlier, because they want to miss out, because they won't know, you know, the cervix haver, or I don't know what a cervix is, so this campaign is not for me. That's what's going to happen. Another point I would like to make is that one example of inclusive language people are trying to impose by genderists is like the phrase birthing parent. That doesn't even work in Portuguese, okay? In Portuguese, a birthing parent, because the word parent translates in Portuguese as father. So a birthing parent would be a birthing father. So that's how the word birthing translates in Portuguese. Inclusivity of transsexual males, and here I'm going to make another point. I am no longer, because words matters, I am no longer calling males who identify as women as trans women. I am calling them transsexual males because they were born male. And females who identify as men, I'm calling them transsexual females. So inclusivity of transsexual males in maternity wards for their feminine validation will take away hospital beds, even from transsexual females during childbirth. So it's unfair. So inclusive language that erases women's material reality, it's not inclusive. Words matters because the female body matters for the women's rights movement. It matters because women are discriminated for their potential ability to gestate. I have a big thread on Twitter that now contains over 3,000 different female issues, from sexist selective abortions, female genital mutilation, domestic violence, underage marriage of young girls, pregnancy, miscarriage, abortion, endometriosis, ovarian cancers, and many more. Maternity mortality rates in Brazil have soared during lockdown measures, okay? And we were already, before the pandemics, world champions in elective unnecessary C-sections. So we have a lot going on. A bit of statistics for you. The World Health Organization, okay, stipulates that it's safe for women and babies to have between 10 and 15% of births via C-sections. Okay, between 10 and 50%, it's okay, it's saving lives. But when you go to reality, in the UK, 30% of births happen via C-section. In Brazil, it's even worse. It's excess of C-sections. We have like 50%, more, a little bit more than 50% of elective C-sections in the public health system. I'm sorry. And in the private sector, the private health sector in Brazil, it's 90% of births via C-section. And because of that, we are also world champion and in iatrogenic prematurity of babies, because babies are taken out of the mothers at about 38 weeks. Doctors turn to them and say, 38 weeks, your baby is ready. But the only real way of a baby telling the mother or the doctors of the midwives that he's ready is the woman starting to go into labor. That's the evidence, because I'm an activist for respectful and humanist childbirth, normal deliveries, if you wish. So I see a lot of similarities. For a long time now, I've been an activist for her respectful births since 2012, and I see a lot of similarities in this activism and the genderists. You know, it's big pharma imposing puberty blockers, surgeries, top surgery for 13-year-old girls, you know, referral soaring of girls in the UK in gender identities. You know, we had on a previous panel, Eugenia Rodrigues, which is the WHRC representative for Brazil, and she was talking about the puberty blockers. So I see a lot of similarities. So my main message here today is this: we have to get our facts right. Like, there is no trans women, there are transsexual males, okay, or transsexual females if they are born female. Another fact is that women are discriminated for having the potential ability to dictate, okay? And we are fighting against women's lack of bodily autonomy. Another fact is that this inclusive language of calling women menstruators, bleeders, cervix, uterus havers, okay, it's elitist. That's the main reality of it, okay? Because are you going to go to Brazil's slums and telling Brazilian women who are pregnant, especially after rape, and telling them that they have to call themselves cis women? They are not, because that doesn't mean anything. Most women, most people don't have a gender identity. We have bodies, right? So this inclusive language. No, I'm not against elective sections. No. As I told you previously, it's between 10 and 50%. It's safe for women. Much more than that, it starts killing women. Another example is that in many African countries, the rates of C-sections are very low, like under 10%, and that kills women too. So we have to get the right proportion, you know, when it's saving and when it's killing. Lots of women die in Brazil in childbirth because of elective and necessary C-sections, because it's too many. It's 90% in the private sector. Okay, just to answer a question that came here. And so we are fighting against women's lack of bodily autonomy, and inclusive language is elitist and undermines women's struggles to gain bodily autonomy by erasing women. Okay, women are being erased. And by erasing women and the category of mother, like we had this year, a Brazilian socialist, she did a thread on Twitter in Portuguese, and she was saying, when talking about maternity matters, we cannot use the categories mother and motherhood anymore. It's not inclusive. Inclusive of who? Inclusive of male bodies? They don't go through pregnancy. This is all a fight. By erasing women in the category mother and motherhood, people are turning a blind eye to women's discrimination. And that's basically what I wanted to say today about this whole process. So we are now in a process, in a campaign with Parto Raiz, root birth, as doulas, to fight against this. We had a situation right now this week. We had like the biggest conference on maternity matters in Brazil. Lots of people come around from all over the world to talk about maternity matters. Okay, because of the situation we have in Brazil of the soaring numbers of elective unnecessary C-sections. I'm talking about the necessary ones, not the necessary ones. And there was a psychiatrist over there, basically saying, he was asking, like on a Zoom meeting like this, oh, but is there really only two sexes? Well, are there? No, there are only two gametes, isn't it? So there are only two sexes. And so these people are confusing people who are not aware of the debate, who are not aware of all the points, and who are not aware of the women's rights movement, the feminist theory, you know, and they're taking advantage of that to sell drugs and to take away. This is basically taking away places from women. There was a paper I saw this year, a few months ago. This paper was advocating for midwives to start taking care of transsexual males in maternity wards, giving them the estrogen injections. This is not the scope of midwifery. The midwifery scope is to assist a birthing mother, not a transsexual male going through the steps to look like a woman.